Things were desperate. The editing work had all but dried up. No matter how many writing-related jobs I applied for on the freelancing websites I've been using for years, I just couldn't seem to get any new work. Nearing my lowest point, so deep into my overdraft I didn't think I'd ever be able to tunnel my way out again, I received an email about the following project. Write love poem for my future wife. I clicked onto the link and read a more detailed description of what the job entailed. I, 28-year-old male, in love with beautiful princess. To win princess heart, I need fine wordsmith poet to write stirring romantic verse. For this I pay very, very handsome. If dream come true, if we marry, may also be money bonus for successful applicant. The advertisement told me two things about the prospective client. One, that English wasn't his first language, even though he had a little Union Jack on his profile page, indicating that he was UK based. Two, that he was probably a sad, deluded crackpot. But my financial situation was so perilous, I knew I had to look beyond any reservations, not least because the pay rate was unusually high, £750 to £1,250. Even if I went in at the lower end, it would cover a good chunk of next month's rent and allow me to eat something more substantial than tin ravioli and beans on toast. In the most florid, creative terms, I hadn't written anything resembling a poem in over 10 years. I pitched for the job, saying I was an experienced novelist, short story writer, and poet. I'd been published in the UK, the States, Australia, Canada, etc. That I'd worked in the publishing industry for nearly 20 years. That I had extensive knowledge of both the romantic and contemporary poets. That I was available to start work straight away, and that, if successful, I could compose the poem in the next 24 hours. After posting the message, I scrolled down the screen to see that 118 other freelancers had also bid for the job, the majority of whom had undercut even me. For that reason, I didn't really hold out much hope of success. But less than an hour later, I received a direct email from the client, Danilo Molotov. Dear friend, thank you greatly for your response to my ad. I'm most impressed by your credential and would therefore like to award you job. For your information, to put image in head to inspire words, my treasure love is called Juliet. She 5'9", curved figure, beautiful dark hair, dark eyes. She work in pet shop and live in the same building as me and my mother. We have great, great spirit connection, although we never actually talk, never actually meet yet. Only a matter of time. Once you receive poem, all be settled to satisfaction in her. And you say you can start today and give poem soon, yes? Oh shit, I thought to myself, they've never spoken, never even met, though he says he wants to marry her, and he still lives with his mother. But I really did need the money, so I replied, thank you for selecting me for the job, Danilo, and thank you for the personal information provided. Before I make a start, could I ask which poets, or individual poem if that's easier, that you particularly admire, and what kind of style of verse you're looking for Juliet's poem? By that I mean classical romantic. Do you want a rhyme structure, a long or short poem, or maybe something a bit modern and to the point, heartfelt, telling him exactly how you feel about her? He came back straight away, telling me that he wasn't sure about poets and particular poems and styles and lengths, because he hadn't read any poetry before, but he's happy to defer to my expert knowledge in the field of the human heart. And, if you have ready for tomorrow, I'm happy to give you extra £25. All of which, I'm ashamed to admit this, encouraged me to act completely disingenuously, to be lazy and unprofessional, think that he wouldn't know the difference between his Byron and his Keats. I googled famous love poems, literally, a bit of Shakespeare, love is not love that alter when alteration find, a bit of Pushkin, I noticed once our chance meeting, and you a tender pulse was beating. In short, I picked a selection of the choicest lines from the pantheon of great verse, and simply mixed and matched each one. With a couple of hours of copying and pasting, dragging my hodgepodge standards from one line to the next, I'd mocked up, I couldn't possibly say written, a wildly fraudulent if sincere sounding love poem. And it went like this, poem for Juliet. In my dreams I see only you. I wander lonely through empty days, thinking only of the promise of your heavenly kiss. A love like ours can never change, even if in altered circumstance. So why not take a chance, my darling one? Let our hearts be united under the burning sun of a love that will last forevermore. Not wanting to appear as if I'd cut any literary corners, I knew I'd have to wait until the morning before I emailed the completed poem over to Danilo and received my payment. Certain that the money was more or less in the bank though, I treated myself to a takeaway curry and a cheap bottle of wine. Only next morning, within 10-15 minutes of sending the poem off, I got a furious reply from Danilo. No, no, Philip, this is not what I asked for. This is not near good enough at all. You fail miserable. You prove big, big disappointment to me. You break promise. You break business agreement. You're not honourable man. You offend me gross. This poem is not from heart. These words will not make Juliet fall in love with me. I feel that you have tried to cheat me, sending me something not original, other people's words, not of your own mind. For that reason, if you not make good before the end of the day, I have no choice but to report you to the freelancer website. I have no choice but to post negative feedback and score re the quality of your work, reliability, honesty, and I show poem to site administrator. I let him judge your effort. Please respond immediately. The course of love rests upon the strength of your conscience. There's nothing worse in life than getting caught out when you're trying to be clever, when someone you consider a soft touch can see right through a flimsy deception. But more than that, I couldn't risk any negative feedback on my freelancer profile. I was having enough trouble getting work without a dirty black mark against my name, or indeed, have Danilo show my sloppy poem to anybody else, anybody who might be able to point out exactly what I'd done. Through my own laziness, I put myself in a stupidly awkward position. Panicking, I wrote a hasty, apologetic reply, assuring her this was merely a case of miscommunication, cross wires, that I'd do anything to rectify the situation, that there was no need for him to report me to the site or look for another freelancer to do the work, that I'd be happy to redraft the poem within the next hour or two, that I'd listen to his advice and pointers more closely, anything to ensure that the work was done to his satisfaction. A sincere enough reply, only didn't seem to placate him, not all the way, for he sent me a curious return message, demanding a face-to-face meeting, which had me questioning exactly what I got myself involved in here, and how badly I needed a perfect feedback score on my freelancer profile page. You live in London, yeah? Come to my place right away. We work on poem together. Non-negotiable. Time's so right for Danilo and Juliet to join in heaven matrimony. I thought long and hard about how to word my response, how to avoid meeting in person. In the end, I decided to make out that, if we didn't live too far away from each other, I'd be more than willing to do so. London's a big place after all. Chances were he lived miles away, a good hour's journey by bus or train. I'm not sure it's necessary that we meet in person, Danilo, with the convenience and ease in which we can bounce ideas back and forth via email. But if we're not too far away from each other, I live in Greenwich near the station, and I'll be happy to do so. Again, he came straight back. Good news, I live North Greenwich, near Woolwich, end of Big Road. I expect you around lunch, yes? I'll look out for you. If all go well, I'm still willing to give you £25 bonus in cash, even in light of poor performance. And he gave me the address and the numbered bus I could jump on that dropped me right outside his building. Understandably reluctant, I nevertheless felt I had to go. I had to sort out the mess I'd created. I had to do the right thing this time, and of course get my hands on my fee. You must be Philip, yes? Asked the woman who answered the door. Unusually tall, dark-complexioned woman of middle age, with curly, slightly dated 80s shoulder-length hair. As soon as she stepped into the relative light, I thought, Isabella Rossellini in blue velvet. She had an accent and smoked a cigarette in the same way I remember Isabella Rossellini smoking a cigarette in the film. Intensely, desperately, like it might be her last ever smoke. That's right, I said. Are you Danilo's mother? She didn't reply, not directly. Danilo is in room, first door on right. She took a step back and ushered me into the flat. At first, I wasn't quite sure if I was seen right, because the front room, a Moses-sized space, was completely empty. Borough-stained stretch of cheap industrial carpet and a muslin drape covering the bay window. There wasn't one single stick of furniture. First door on right, she repeated, almost shouted, which made me jump. Right, okay, yeah, I said over my shoulder as I started across the room. Oh, and Mr. Phillips, she called after me. Love is not love that alters when alteration find. Feeling like a complete bastard fraud, thoroughly ashamed of myself, I knocked twice on the door. Come in, Philip, said who I presume was Danilo, but in such a weird, squeaky voice, I thought that he must be putting it on, playing a joke on me. I opened the door and walked inside. Initially, I froze. That's the only way I can describe it. Like the front room, I wasn't quite sure if I was seeing right, for Danilo was a tiny 3-foot pygmy, a wizened-featured, balding, narrow-eyed, almost wall-featured curio.